And so it really wasn't a lot.
300 test P, 300 Mast P, 300 Tren, 50 milligrams of Anavar, 50 milligrams of Sdrol.
Coach Greg, today's video, going back to my roots, putting on my I'm not a doctor shirt. And so many of you wanted the old style videos. Well, here it is. And so if you want to know about performance enhancing drugs, this is the video for you. And so we got a guy, an IPV pro, and he comes clean, gives us his very small minor teensy-weensy cycle. So he goes over it in detail, so I appreciate him for being honest. And I do believe he's being 100% transparent. And so let's see what this very small cycle is. And so he does say it's a very small cycle for competitors, but for an average person that's just going to use their first cycle, just getting in the gym, this will be a little bit more than you need. He also says you wouldn't need the Tren if you weren't going for a pro card. And so first things first, he's competing in men's physique, the board shorts. And so you don't need a lot of muscle for that, right? I mean, after all, you cover up the legs, probably just pump the upper body a little bit, have a chisel six-pack, and off to pro card land. Absolutely not. The guys in men's physique, oftentimes bigger than bodybuilders. Remember, I'm an official judge. I judge these competitions. And I can tell you right now, I watch competitors who compete in both men's physique and bodybuilding, and they actually are bodybuilding champions also winning men's physique. The same guy. And oftentimes I'll see a guy in men's physique, he wins the show, and I'm thinking, had that guy only won bodybuilding, he would have won the whole show. I'm shocked at how big they are. And so when you see a guy competing in men's physique, trust me, they are freaking jacked and need a lot of muscle. And so let's get right into his small cycle.
What was your cycle when you became a pro and won your pro card? It really wasn't a lot. It was 300.
And so it really wasn't a lot.
300 test P, 300 Mast P, 300 Tren, 50 milligrams of Anavar, 50 milligrams of Sdrol. And because I was show hopping, that was my third show of the season in the span of 8 weeks. Only leading up to the show that I won my pro card at, I was running 20 milligrams of Sdrol every day. All it did was help me fill out and come in a little fuller.
So let me go over each of these compounds, explain what they're going to do, and to tell you just how strong it really is. And so the first thing, 300 tests, that is the base of the cycle. That is a bit over double what I'm doing for HRT. And if that was all he was doing, that would not be a very large cycle. That would be a very beginner-esque cycle. Certainly would put on a ton of muscle for any individual. But what it would also do is cause a person to gain a lot of water. And so perhaps you might gain 10 or 20 pounds even on only 300 milligrams of test in 3 or 4 months. But a lot of that weight would be water weight. We also might get gynecomastia. We refer to that as bitch tits. And so that's something people don't want. Next up, 300 milligrams of Mastron. Mastron is a hardener. It's about 2/3 as strong as testosterone. So it would build the same amount of muscle as approximately taking 200 milligrams of test. The benefit of Mastron is it doesn't convert to estrogen. You're not going to get that water retention, the puffiness, the fluffiness, and it's not going to cause gyno. And so for a competitor getting up on stage who wants to look chiseled, doesn't want to have any water retention or a bloated, puffy looking face, Mastron, absolutely amazing. The most similar comparable thing I can compare to would be definitely Primo. However, Primo, far more expensive and much more often to be faked. And so oftentimes people are buying Primo when in reality what they're getting is Mastron if they're lucky. But oftentimes people are faking Mastron and Primo by simply putting testosterone in a bottle and faking what's in it on the label. And so you might think you're getting a hardener. You might think you're going to look amazing, but oftentimes it's fake. It's not what's in the bottle. Remember, many of these things are from underground labs. They're not from pharmaceutical companies. And so you're essentially playing Russian roulette with your health, no different than taking SARMs. There are no regulations. And so please be careful. Remember, I'm not a doctor. I got the shirt on. And never, ever take any of these things without the advice and consent from your doctor, and never break the law. Every country is different. In Canada, you can possess and use steroids, and it's not a criminal offense. In the United States, it is. And so, depending on the country you're in, please abide by its rules.
300 test P.
And notice he says test P and Mast P. That stands for test prop or test propionate. That is the ester attached to the steroid. And so when you inject 100 milligrams of testosterone propionate, you're only getting approximately 87 milligrams milligrams of actual testosterone. The rest of it is an ester at the end. And so if you're injecting 100 milligrams, what you're really doing is taking in 87 milligrams of test. If you were to inject test suspension, that milky fluid, it doesn't have an ester attached. It's also a more painful shot, much more difficult to do. And it takes effects very quickly, as in right now, it's actually going to be 100 milligrams out of 100. If you're injecting something more common like test enanthate or cypionate, those only have approximately 67 milligrams of testosterone. And so the actual amount of testosterone you're getting is a lot lower. And so if you're injecting test prop in comparison to test enanthate or cypionate, you're actually going to put on more muscle. And so the problem is, however, when you inject prop versus enthercip, you have to make much more frequent injections, at least every other day. You can inject every 3, 4, 5 days. Doesn't work. Another benefit of injecting a propionate ester is following the competition, you can stop and it gets out of your system much quicker. In comparison, if you inject a longer ester like cypionate or enanthate, it's going to last in your system much, much longer, for weeks. Even after a month, it's still going to be in your system a little bit. And so you might think, hey, I'm off everything. I've been off for a month. But what you did on that last shot a month ago, you're actually still feeling it. And so technically, you're not really off. Next up, 300 milligrams of Tren Ace. Tren Ace is very strong. And so although it's not a big number, you're thinking, well, it's only 300. Tren Ace is literally 3 times stronger than Test. And so what does that mean? It means if you inject 300 milligrams of Tren, it's equivalent in strength to doing 900 milligrams of Test. And so if 2 people added in steroids, one added in 900 milligrams of Test, the other 300 milligrams of Tren, they would both accrue roughly the same amount of muscle. Yeah, I get it. You're saying the anabolic androgenic ratio of Test to Tren, it's 500 compared to 100, and so it's 5 times stronger. Just because a certain ratio is listed on paper doesn't mean it builds that much more muscle in the real world. Masteron and Primo, 2/3 as strong as Test, and so not as much muscle is going to be built, but less water retention. Tren, on the other hand, 3 times stronger than Test, approximately 5 times stronger than Primo. And so if you're thinking, I'm not doing a lot, I'm only on 100 milligrams of Tren, that's a baby dose, only 100 milligrams. It would be like doing 500 milligrams of Masteron and or Primo. And so especially for the women out there, never take Tren. Absolutely ridiculous. Even if you're only doing 10 or 20 milligrams of Tren a week, that is a shit ton. Be like doing 50 or 100 milligrams of Test in a week. And how much could a woman take? Well, approximately 3.5 to 5 milligrams would be a common starting dose for testosterone replacement. And so if you're a woman on HRT and you're on 10 milligrams, that is actually a lot. You may in fact get virilization. Those are side effects. For example, a deeper voice, having to shave, growing your Adam's apple, or the downstairs getting a little bit more puffy, a little bit larger than last time. And if you've ever watched OnlyFans, perhaps some of you have, you've watched women on a lot of juice, taking a lot of products, you're going to see their downstairs perhaps a couple inches way bigger than you ever could have imagined. And don't tell me you've never seen it. Some of you perhaps haven't, but many of you, you've seen it, and it's larger than freaking last time.
50 milligrams of Anavar, 50 milligrams of Winstrol.
Next up, no big deal, 50 milligrams of Anavar and 50 milligrams of Winstrol. That's 100 milligrams in total. And so what do I think of that? I can't believe how much this guy's taking. That is an absurd dose. 50 milligrams of Anavar alone, that is a lot. Oftentimes when I took steroids in the past, I would take 60 milligrams. The pills came in 20 milligram tablets, and so I was taking 3. Perhaps he's taken 25 milligram tablets and he's taking 2. And Anavar and Winstrol do essentially the same thing, except Anavar better for strength, safer on your organs. Winstrol to me was a poor man's Anavar. If you couldn't afford Anavar, you're going to take Winstrol because it's cheaper, but it's more harsh on your cholesterol, worse on your liver, and so I would highly recommend you go with Anavar over Winstrol. Remember, this is only if your doctor supports this and only if it's legal in your country. So considering he's taking both, why? Why do we need to take both? That is a lot. One thing, however, with Winstrol is if you do in fact want to take it, it is available in injectable form. Many people are injecting Winstrol, but very painful shot. I despise doing this. I've tried it in the past, hated it. Sometimes the product gets stuck in that little needle. You can't get it out. It's a nightmare to do. And so I strongly suggest you stay away from these compounds.
And because I was show hopping, that was my third show of the season in the span of 8 weeks.
I remember he did 3 shows back to back in a span of 8 weeks. And so he most likely did a 16-week cycle preparing for these competitions. And so he had to continue on the cycle. And for the last one of which he achieved his pro card, he only took 20 milligrams of Sdrol. Before a competition, most people, they stop the injections. What good would it do if you showed up on stage and you had swollen marks all over your body? I've seen it all the time. Oftentimes you see it in the glutes, but in men's physique competitions, oftentimes the shoulders, lats, you'll notice these site injections. It's very, very distracting. And so if you get an infection, which is very common, no matter how many times you've done it, no matter how safely you're doing it, very easy to get an infection and looking swollen. And so highly recommend you stop all forms of injecting far before the competition.
Also, Arimidex for estrogen and Caber for prolactin.
Oh, and he forgot to mention Arimidex for estrogen and Caber for prolactin. And so let me tackle the Arimidex first. When you're taking testosterone, some of it's going to convert to estrogen. Estrogen is going to make you hold water. So you get more puffy, moon-faced, you can get gynecomastia. And so by taking the Arimidex, it's going to lower his estrogen, allow him to come in drier, leaner, and have more conditioning. And for the most part, many people are taking Femra or Letrozole. Also, they take Nolvadex. Some people will also take Proviron as a hardener. And those who are more hardcore, looking for more energy in the gym to train harder than last time, very often people will take Halo. And so in comparison to an IFBB Pro bodybuilder cycle, this is in fact a small cycle. But remember, it's men's physique and it's by no means small. This is in fact a lot and it is very abusive. The cabergoline to fight off prolactin, that is because he's taking Tren. This can also cause issues. Sometimes people taking Tren suffer from prolactin causing puffy nips and so on, having lower sex drive, and so cabergoline can help them feel more normal. Cabergoline, some people refer to as being Doucette. Another alternative is Pramipixole. And so these are some of the compounds, remember, just some of the compounds that people take in order to compete.
One thing I find about gear that's really funny is like less is more, but sometimes more is more.
And so by more is more, what he means is that, yeah, if he took 500 tests, 500 Mast, 500 Tren, he would have had more muscle. But it perhaps could have caused some bloating. Sometimes the highest dose cycles, they cause you to have stomach distension. Perhaps you're going to hold more water, and so you don't actually look better. Some people, in fact, prefer my natural physique over my enhanced physique. I was perhaps sharper in the abdominals, looked tighter, had a smaller waist. And so when you do, in fact, abuse performance-enhancing drugs, it can, in fact, have a negative appearance to your physique. Depends what you're looking for. The law of diminished returns applies. The more of you take something, the less you're going to get out of it. If you take 100 milligrams of tests and double it to 200 milligrams, you might double your results. But from 200 to 400, 400 to 800, 800 to 600, you're not going to continue to double and get more results. And after a certain point, it actually is going to hurt you. For example, if you took 10 grams of Tren every day, you probably would never be able to sleep, you wouldn't be able to train, you wouldn't be able to recover, and so you would actually get worse results. And so sometimes less is more. Bodybuilders, for the most part, take the most they can possibly take, the most they can handle, and then they back off if they feel uncomfortable. I, at one point, tried to take 700 milligrams of Tren. Did it for approximately a week, tried for the second week, couldn't do it. Had to lower it to 500. Couldn't sleep, felt anxiety, felt horrible morning until night. I couldn't train effectively. And so if you can't sleep, how are you going to grow muscle? You need to feel good in your own skin. And I can tell you, when I was on abusive doses, I couldn't wait for the cycle to stop. And so lower doses, for example, on HRT right now, I feel perfectly healthy. But when I abused steroids, I felt like dog shit. It didn't make me feel good. And so you might be thinking, wow, I just did my first cycle. It was amazing. I put on 10 pounds of muscle. I'm going to double it next time. I'm going to put on 20 pounds. It doesn't work like that. The law of diminished returns. And the more cycles you do, the less they tend to work. And so you need to keep upping the doses. What might have worked on your first cycle, if you did on your last cycle, you might in fact lose muscle. And so please be careful. Do your research, hire a coach, talk to your doctor, and never, ever break the law. Like the video if you liked it. Did you like this content? Do you want me to do more of it? Of course, can do more videos like this. If it gets a lot of views, you know me, I'm going to continue to make the videos. And if you want to stay natural and avoid all those products, of course, we're here to help you harder than last time. Natural products like G-Test. We have GO2 Max to help your cardio. Ecti Builder to help you build muscle. Also, pre-workout stims, pre-workout pumps. We also have protein powder, creatine, beta-alanine, Seco protein bars. They're absolutely delicious and amazing. So many more. Head over to the website. And remember, code Greg, G-R-E-G, going to save you 10% off. And if you don't have any money, that is fine. You head over to our website. First, last name, email address, coming straight to your door, close to 50 pages, free diet and training program. What do you have to lose? Head over there right now. Subscribe, click that bell button, comment to boost the algorithm, of course, and like this video. Don't forget to watch one of those 2 bloops. Of course, the cookbook, the training books, the coaching plans by me and my team, my Circle Diet book, as well as the Harder Than Last Time clothing line. And until next time, I am out.